away, please.
Okay, hi, welcome everyone to Augmented World Expo. My name is Pablo Mendigochea, and I'm a holographic engineer, which is a strange title, but a valid one for sure, with HoloLeo Studios, and I'm based in Los Angeles. I'm a technical evangelist for Epson Moverio, and I've worked with the Moverio platform for a good year and a half. Prior to that, I was working a lot with Flash and doing augmented reality with Flash when back in the day we can do it with a webcam. So because I've worked with the Moverio for a long time, I want to share with you some tips that I've acquired, and especially talk about the new BT-300. That's their new model that's come out. I'm basically going to go over the history of, a little bit of the history of the Moverio, and then I'll be talking about the new BT-300, and then talking specifically for how you as a developer can develop for the BT-200 or 300. So let's get started. I think I have to use this thing over here. So yeah, so that's my agenda here. And I think at the end, there'll be a Q&A. So if you have any specific questions about the BT-300, you can ask me. And also after the talk, you can approach me. So in the beginning was the BT-100. And this was actually in 2011. And you know, they look very fun and very impressive. But they were revolutionary at the time, because what made them unique was that they provided a display and a controller as two separate units, and they were, although they were connected with a wire, they were untethered. And with a 6-hour battery life, that basically allowed you to do you know, new kinds of applications for that. And there wasn't, well, there are other things on the market, but not at the price levels that Epson was going for. And so, you know, a lot of people ask me when I do meetups or trade shows and presentations like this, you know, why Epson's in this field where, well, of course, they're known for their printers and projectors. So what Epson has done with the Moverio line is miniaturize the projection. And basically, the projection is housed into the two sides of the Moverio display. Then in 2014, the BT-200 was introduced, which is this guy here. And so the principle is the same. You have the micro projectors on either side. They're embedded in here, very, very small. And then you have two screens in front of you. With these two screens, you can either have the same content coming out of both sides of the projector, and that allows you to have a single image in front of you, or you can have two independent images with the projectors, and that allows you to have stereoscopic vision. What made the BT-200s even more impressive was that it was, let me figure this out here. All right, so we still have the controller as you saw before, but they slimmed it down. So again, we still have the concept of the glasses at the top and controller at the bottom. All the CPU, all the intelligence is housed on this side. So I'll just talk about the top side. Like I said, Epson's known for their projectors, so they have micro projectors on top of here. And it basically shines the light, and it reflects off a mirror or some sort of reflective surface, and then shines the image in the middle. And in the BT-200, you're able to get quarter HD. With the BT-300, you're able to get HD now, and it's very, very nice. Then we progressed. Okay, yeah, so let me talk about the sensors, sorry. So the sensors at the top, it has a bunch of sensors at the top that you can do head tracking. So this enabled VR. It has a front-facing camera as well. So that lets you do augmented reality, because the camera can pick up what's in front of it, markers and whatnot, and using computer vision code and SDK frameworks, you can produce augmented reality. And it has a compass and a gyroscope in it as well. So very capable top unit, very lightweight and wearable. Likewise, on the bottom, the controller, this also has sensors. So you can basically do any kind of gyroscopic application, you know, a lightsaber or whatnot. And it also has a trackpad. So it's not a touchpad like a phone. It's actually like basically like a mouse on your desktop where you can move around. You can implement different gestures, you know, swipes, double taps, and that kind of stuff. And I'm actually giving a webinar this Friday on how to program this controller. I'll be talking a little bit more, promoting that a little bit later. So that was 2014. And this is the model in 2016. For these guys, much, much lighter, much, much slimmer, much sexier, I'd say. They really miniaturized it a lot more. The camera has received an update. It's 5 megapixels now, much more capable device. The controller also looks different. Same concept, you have a trackpad, but you also have now a D-pad. So it's easier to do, for example, if you were to do a slide application where you have to go next, previous, you have dedicated buttons for that kind of stuff. So very handy. So now I will play a video. BT-300. When I was looking into this, honestly, using this device, it's very capable to program with. There's a lot of ecosystem out there to develop for it, but it needed some help in some areas, which the BT-300 certainly addressed. And I'll go over those now. So in my opinion, the BT-300 is a revolutionary, evolutionary upgrade to the Moverio. I'll explain why it's revolutionary. Like I said, it has a much slicker form factor, much lighter. It's only about 65 grams. It has an innovative silicon OLED display. So whereas in the BT-200, you would have the display in front of you, but it would show the frame of what you're looking at because it was an LCD screen. So when you did AR, you would see the digital object appear in front of you, but you'd always have the size to remind you that this was a projection. With the OLED screen, the transparent OLED screen, it's frameless AR. So the digital content appears and there's nothing around it. And it's truly much more immersive. And it's particularly helpful for HUD applications. For example, if I gave my speech with this now, I could have subtitling of my speech and I could still see you guys clearly. Next, it has a much more powerful Intel Atom processor housed in here. It's equivalent to a modern tablet. So if you go to Best Buy or whatnot and buy a tablet, if you develop for that, the speed that you're used to there, that's the speed that you're going to get out of this, which is a great increase versus the BT-200. It also has an updated Android OS. That was one of the sticking points with the BT-200. You would try to find apps on the Android store, and they would be targeting, Lollipop or 4.4 KitKat. But this is upgraded all the way up to Lollipop. So those hindrances aren't there anymore. Which means it opens up the applications you can play with it. It has a 5 megapixel camera, which is really great for anything that you can do with a camera. So for example, like I said, with the Android Lollipop update, you could have, for example, Periscope running on this. And then when you're at an event, you could just put on the glasses and film live, for example. And then the price is very affordable, and I'll get into that a little later. So this is a video on the display technology. So like I said, this is the revolutionary part of the Moverio because it has really the world's lightest OLED transparent binocular display. The technology you showed there was basically if you have any kind of black, like let's say you're designing a web page and it's just black, black on the projector is just off. It's not, the light doesn't come out, you just turn the switch off. So if you want to just have lettering with black, then that's all you're going to see on the display is just the lettering, which is useful for many use cases, especially AR. The screen is now HD, which is much higher quality. So if you're watching YouTube 360 YouTube videos and whatnot, it's much better experience. And like I said, the AR will be much more convincing because you don't have that frame around it. Much higher contrast levels, wider color gamut. Text is razor sharp. You really have to. They're at the booth 5. You really have to try it out. I challenge you to find another glasses out there that beat this. And because of the way that they make the display, it actually uses less battery life. So you get a longer battery life out of it as well. Okay, so the next part is the hardware update. Like I had hinted before, you now have an equivalent of a tablet for the chip, and also more intelligence to it as far as sensors, better Wi-Fi, and better Bluetooth. So more connectivity to other devices out there. You have, like I said, an updated Android 5.1. If you're targeting this with Android development or Unity development, target to level 22. The benefit here is you have access to pretty much, well, everything on the Play Store, really. And also lots and lots and lots of projects and code that's on GitHub that leverages this level of Android SDK. And also because of the more powerful camera and processor, a lot of the SDKs that are out there, for example, there's one called Kudan, which does AR. It's a SLAM-based toolkit. Basically, SLAM is, you have computer vision code that tries to determine your position, positional tracking for your device. Because the camera quality is higher and the processor is faster, you're going to get better SLAM out of it. I just talked about the camera here. The sharp difference is that the BT-200 really had like a camera from the 90s. And remarkably, even with that camera, they're able to pull off a lot of AR applications with it. So like I said, computer vision code will be much better. And any kind of apps that are related to on the field, if you're a technician, you need to film what the base needs to see, will be enabled by this sharper and better camera. Now, the controller, as I had mentioned before, is same thing with a trackpad, but now it has this D-pad on the top. And these are actually, Moverio will be available at the end of the year. So the samples that I received are actually early engineering samples. So it's actually, this may not be the finished form. And it may have other capabilities here. For example, I asked if it's a track wheel like the old iPod. I don't know, perhaps. I think it's just going to be a D-pad, though. I'll be talking, again, a webinar this Friday on how to program the controller. And it has sensors and all that kind of stuff as well. So given all these updates, I would venture you to guess how much it would cost. I mean, it's not $3,000, but it is $799, which is an incredible value. And these are available for pre-order today at our booth at the trade show. They will be shipping at the end of the year, but definitely great value. I mean, for what you get. The BT-200s at the trade show now, if you just want to start developing today and you want something, these are going for $400. And so all the coding that you do for these will just be super updated and upgraded with the 300. Okay, so now I want to get to so these are just some more specs here. I'll just leave this up here and you can read it through. It's essentially everything's better, faster, smaller, faster. This is just a comparison. It's a little hard to read in the slide, but it just shows the evolution of the BT-100, the 200, and the 300, how things have been gotten progressively better. Okay, so now I want to talk about development. So the neat thing about the BT, the Moverio BT, it's open, right? Because you turn it on and it's Android. And so you can do whatever you want with it. So you can do, you probably are already a Moverio developer, right? If you're a mobile developer, you're a Moverio developer. If you are a Unity developer, you're a Moverio developer. If you are an HTML5 developer, you're a Moverio developer. If you're if you can just throw up HTML with Hello World, you're a Moverio developer, because it just runs Android, right? So you can target those devices, and there's no walled gardens here. There's no special SDKs that you have to buy into. It's an open market. You can do whatever you want with your APKs and publish to wherever. And because it's been around since 2011, there's quite an ecosystem around it. So you can get SDKs for gestures. You can get SDKs for voice commands, AR, VR, etc. So I'm just going to dive into a little bit on each one of those. Catch up here. Okay, so for the native Android, you would develop as normal, just target API level 22. Just install Android Studio, connect through ADB, and you're off and running. Of course, you're going to have to learn about the specifics on designing for iOware and all that kind of stuff. But that's kind of a fun thing. We all are pioneers in this. I mean, that's certainly how I got into this. I just got it and just started hacking and making my own discoveries. And there's a lot of really great code on GitHub, mainly from like educational institutions that have used the BT-300 for their research. There's a ton of really great code out there to get you started for native code. And like I said, there's a lot of third-party native SDKs out there as well. I encourage you to check out our partners downstairs. They'll show you some very specific and special applications of using BT-300, sorry, and the 200. For Unity, likewise, you want to target API level 22. Just follow the same design principles of VR, low polygon count, low draw calls, etc. There are various AR toolkits that are in the market now. Euphoria, AR Toolkit, which is an open source one. Kudon, which is a strong up-and-comer. There's a VR toolkit. Because of the limitations in BT-200, I did a fork of the Cardboard project by Google. I dubbed it Moverio Cardboard. The legal team wasn't very happy about that, but in any case, it's a very simple way to just drop in a prefab into Unity and quickly create a 360 player or video player. So for the 300, I'll probably update that project for Google Cardboard's latest code, because now it runs the latest Android. Now for HTML, it gets even more exciting, because all the JavaScript frameworks that you're used to, React, Angular, whatever you want to use, WebSockets, all that HTML5 goodness works on the BT-300 and works very, very well. This is really the fastest and quickest path to prototyping any kind of smart glass application, because you can quickly throw up some HTML code and test against it. And also, in addition, if you're doing stuff with native or Unity and you want to connect to an existing CMS, that's going to be a little difficult if you're doing it with a native or Unity, right? Because you have to figure out how it's going to connect, and you have to kind of reconfigure how you can display all that data. But since it's HTML, just another browser, right? Design tip, like I said, black is off, right? So if you want off, just set it to black. And then there's these great initiatives that are coming out in HTML5, such as the A-Frame VR framework, which does all the head tracking and simplifies VR into this markup. So for example, I'm talking about that A in the middle there. For plane, it'll just have a markup tag that says plane width 100, X, Y position, and you're done. If you want to wrap up all the HTML so it doesn't run on your website, there's a project called Crosswalk, which Moverio, even BT-200, works very well with. It essentially takes all your code, wraps it up. It's like Cordova, but it embeds the latest Chromium rendering engine, and it makes it compatible all the way down to, I think, Android 4 or some very, very low level. So you can basically wrap up all your code and have the latest Chromium rendering engine. And it spits out an APK at the end, which you can then put on the Android market. Right? Other technologies, WebGL, WebRTC, many, many others that I haven't even touched upon, will work very well on the BT-300. So it's a very open, rich, and robust platform to develop or just play around with. Right? So in my time as a Moverio evangelist, I've produced a lot of webinars. This is where I'm like, well, can Moverio do this with AR? Can it do this with VR? And I kind of just forged a path for other people with these webinars, so I encourage you to check them out. This one, for example, I did one with Vuforia with hybrid AR VR, where you can get a marker, and then I did it for a campus tour. You have a campus map, you look at it, these little 3D spheres appear on the campus map, and then when you tap on it, you become immersed in a 360 photo being in that campus. Moverio 360 is a good one. Even if you're not going to do stuff from Moverio, it just teaches you how in Unity you can use a Moverio cardboard project to really quickly create a 360 player. I did a 360 photo player first. I think I did the old, I want to be on Mars with the rover looking around. And then I did a 360 video player, and then I did a 360 VR player, stereoscopic video from YouTube. This is all on the BT-200, which again will work just as well and much better on the BT-300. And then the one in the corner there, Moverio HTML5, that's where I talk about how to use that Crosswalk technology by Intel that lets you wrap your HTML code and deploy it as an APK. So many other topics coming, I hope, for the BT-300 in the future. Watch them all, collect them, etc. And that brings me to my next thing on Friday. I'll be doing one on the Moverio controller. I'll be covering, because the 300 controller, it's an early engineering build. I won't be covering that, but I'll be covering how to do stuff with the Moverio 200 controller. So be on the lookout for that. Just go to my Twitter page, and I have it pinned, and you can just register for the event there. And so if you want to check it out, just go to booth number 5 in the exhibit hall. And we have partners around us that are doing stuff specific for Moverio. And also, I don't know if I have it on this slide, we have a developer portal. To gain access to this, you basically meet other evangelists and experts, such as myself. You have to pre-order the device. You get a special sticker that you put in your badge, and then you can come there and talk about how you want to either upgrade your BT-200 apps or how you're thinking of applying and start, getting programming for the BT-300. So that's basically where I'll be for the rest of the time at the conference, unless they have me on the floor. Again, it's $7.99, and you can pre-order it today, and it will be shipping by the end of the year. And now, I'll open up to Q&A. I think we have John back there who has a microphone if you guys have any specific questions.
Whoa, that was loud. I also have a microphone that is the PA system for the world. So, we have a question over here.
Oh, beautiful talk. I was very much looking forward to it. You delivered it in spades. It's beautiful. It's an excellent time right now to be alive, and what you've done on GitHub with your cardboard, perfect. I mean, I actually use that for regular cardboard now. I kind of like the older versions, and I'm very excited about the controller. So. The BT-200, it could either do gyroscopic accelerometer on the headset or the controller.
That's correct.
And
yeah.
I think on one of your webinars you mentioned that the 300 could do both.
Yeah. So there's a limitation on the BT-200 where if you moved your head like this, it wasn't registering on the sensor. So if I had some VR thing and I turned around here and I wanted to move a 3D pointer, you can't do that with the BT-200. With the BT-300 now you have both sensors available to you, so you can do a 3D mouse and you can move around. I don't know if you guys heard the Google Daydream project, but essentially you can do what's being done with them.
I know with Daydream you have like a make your own SDK, make your own essentially Daydream before it comes out, and you need definitely more than $800. You have to buy 2 phones and this and that. And I mean, this is really great. I use this a lot for prototyping anything, especially like you look at the HoloLens and you $3,000 to get it, but you could develop everything on this, try it out, and then a quick switch. And I think one question I had with, you said the 00 is black, is sometimes I think with the HoloLens it's 00 and then 0 for the transparency. So is it?
The alpha, yeah, you're right.
Is that right? So it's 000?
I think that sounds correct, yeah.
Awesome. Oh, this is great. I can't wait to.
You have any more questions?
No, please. I'll be at the booth. You guys, this is an epic time. I mean, like literally, we'll all look back at this. I mean, this is as good as it gets. You look at this eyewear and the operating system there. You get Android and everything it has, and the stuff you're doing is epic. I mean, the code, fantastic. Thank you.
Wow, checks in the mail, man. That was awesome. All right, another question.
developed pretty much with Unity, and I have the Epson 200. When I contacted support, they said that the 200 doesn't have full Android support. I was trying to do voice activation and whatnot. I was wondering if the 300 had that.
So I was playing around with that. You mean to do like voice commands? I know that there's some vendors that provide an SDK for that, and I think it's for the 200, so there is technically a path for that. I think it just involves more lower level hacking to get at it. If I have time and inclination to do it, I would probably just create some sort of plugin that would expose that functionality upstream to Unity, like I did with the Moverio cardboard. Because in the Moverio cardboard, it's not just porting over the project, but I had to figure out how to get the sensor, so when you use the switch to go from normal view to stereoscopic view, you have to pass from the Java code to Unity some stuff. So something like that could potentially work, but I haven't looked too much into that. All I know is that there are SDKs for voice commands out there. And actually, I think a cheap and quick way of doing it is to just use Google Voice Services and have them return back to you what it is that they interpreted, right? Oh, okay. Okay. Something to look into.
And one last question in the back.
Oh, came around the side. Just one question is, what's the focal length set for your optics? Is it set for collimated to infinity or 20 feet so the display doesn't cause eye strain?
I think it's, if I remember reading my slides, it's 5 meters and it's 80 inches diagonal or something like that. Does that answer your question? Okay. The field of view is 23 degrees, but it's equivalent to 5 meters away you have an 80-inch diagonal screen. And that's one thing that hasn't evolved even from the BT-100, the whole 23-degree field of view. But as we know, when you turn your head, you get even more screen space. So it's all about really designing around the constraints of it. So any other? Sure. When it goes in kind of like its sleep state? Yeah, I think that, I mean, again, I'm just using early hardware, right? But I noticed that when I just turn it on, it does just come on, and when I turn it off, the version before that was a disaster, but this one seemed to be picking up. And you can try it out, to get a taste for it. You're referring to the old one where you had to push the slide and that was it? Well, that sounds like my kind of. Okay, I really encourage you to stick around for David's talk. It's going to be about Vuforia and HoloLens, which should be a very exciting talk. And thank you for coming here, and thank you for having me. Thank you.